Welcome to this module on the degrowth perspective for a post-Covid-19 world. My name is Joëlle Saey-Volckrick. I am a lecturer in ecological economics and environmental justice at the Berlin School of Economics and Law and at the Sample University in Ottawa, as well as the coordinator of the web portal degrowth.info. In this video, I discuss degrowth as a critique of the growth paradigm that underpins the global capitalist system. Governments around the world are currently working on new growth strategies that will boost their economies, their GDP, their economic growth as a response to the economic crisis that COVID-19 is triggering. Degrowth has been arguing for many years that economic growth is not and cannot be a viable solution to the problems that we're currently facing, even if we put a green label on it, as the concept of sustainable development and green growth do. So why not grow? Since degrowth is by definition opposed to the idea of growth, it is necessary first to explain why it would be a mistake to base the well-being of our societies on economic growth. Let's review quickly a series of arguments. The most well-known one is the ecological impact of growth. At a global level, economic growth is directly tied to the increasing use of materials and energy and to increasing CO2 emissions. In contrast with neoclassical environmental economists or proponents of sustainable development and green growth, degrowth argues that it is not possible to achieve a decoupling of economic growth from environmental pressure. So decoupling means that while the economy keeps growing, the environmental pressure decreases. But we have never experienced such a decoupling on a global level, and all the evidence indicates that it is unlikely to occur, at least not on a scale and in the time frame that would be needed to reverse the most devastating impacts of ecological breakdown. Another reason for demanding an end to the growth paradigm is the question of justice. Justice for future generations, for current generations, and for non-human nature. The first one is the justice towards the next generations. So this would require that we do not exhaust resources today that could be vital for survival and a decent quality of life to the generations of humans that come after us. It would also mean leaving current ecosystems intact for those generations. The second one is the justice towards the current generation, more specifically those suffering the worst effects of the ecological crisis today. This would require a radical redistribution of wealth, both locally and globally. The current model of growing capitalist economies is based on the principle of profit maximization and the accumulation of capital. Redistribution of wealth in this model is supposed to happen naturally through the trickle-down effect, where the increase in profits eventually benefits everyone. Yet, inequalities have increased at a fast pace across the globe in the last decades, with the richest 1% now owning 44% of global wealth. Money is in fact not trickling down, it is accumulating in the hands of the few, which is precisely what capitalist economies were designed to do. Growing economies are serving the interests of capital because they only value productivity, which explains why large parts of societies are not visible in the numbers of the economy, particularly the unpaid and low-paid sectors, which encompass almost all care and reproductive work. This results in the underrepresentation in the economy of the marginalized groups that are overrepresented in these types of work: women, BIPOC populations, members of the LGBTQ community, and so on. This means that in discussions about how to restart the economy after a crisis, the sectors that will be favored are the ones that are known to have the largest impact on the economy. And we have seen this in this pandemic, with public funds used to bail out very large corporations. Investing in care, health, or education is not interesting in terms of productivity of capital and does not have the power to restart the economy as it is designed now. So it's not surprising that these are also always the first sectors targeted by austerity policies. Finally, there should be also justice for non-human nature. Productivist, expansionist, growing economies are not only based on the exploitations of humans, but also of non-human nature. In the past 50 years, human activities have triggered changes to ecosystems that were more rapid than at any time in history, and the rates of biodiversity loss do not show any sign of slowing down. One last reason I'll mention on why growth policies are not desirable is the fact that an economy that needs to grow faces major crises each time it encounters barriers to growth. Capitalist growing economies function on boom and bust cycles. So recessions are not an exception, but a permanent feature of such a system, together with all the devastating social consequences that this involves. So degrowth argues that a planned descent can allow us to mitigate the effects of the upcoming ecological and economic crises that have the potential to strike even harder than the current pandemic. The main lesson to remember from this module is that as long as we remain under the spell of the growth imaginary and only try to do little fixes here and there, we're not dealing with the fundamental causes of the ongoing crisis, but merely treating symptoms. To put it bluntly, the directions that we're currently pursuing is not working. If we base a post-COVID recovery on growth policies, this will not fix the social and ecological problems that we are facing. Quite the opposite. Like any global crisis, this pandemic has caused tremendous suffering. But in every crisis, there is also opportunity. So I invite you to watch the videos Transcending the Growth Paradigm and Strategies for Social-Ecological Transformation to discover how to explore this opportunity.